Good afternoon. How is everyone? So I apologize for my very casual attire, but I figured this crowd would not mind. I have had a busy day of welcoming the Sarban Jarvis Little League opening day, which was awesome. To start your day with 4-year-olds in baseball uniforms is a great way to start a Saturday. Then I played some pickleball, and I am terrible. I was just telling some people that for Fort Worth after school. I went to our Bob Bolin facility to see our SWAT officers in action, which was pretty humbling. I'm here, and then I'm going to judge a hot rod competition this afternoon. And I think all that's missing at this point is a dunk tank. So that's why I'm dressed this way. But I thought it was fitting because the jersey I'm wearing is actually the You Gotta Believe film about West Side Little League, a wonderful production if you haven't seen it, a movie that's family friendly. And it was obviously based here in Fort Worth. They did a little bit of filming here in our city. I'm going to spend Monday testifying on your behalf to the Senate Finance Committee to really advocate for our Texas moving image industry incentive program in the state of Texas, which that's a really exciting thing for Fort Worth. And despite some of the crazy bad news you may see out of the Texas legislature right now, I can assure you they're on the right track with this particular Senate bill, over $500 million of possible film incentives for the state of Texas, and really create an evergreen fund. So more on that, and we can talk about that in coming months, but I'm incredibly optimistic in what it means for the city of Fort Worth. Thank you very much for all of the employees, the staff, the volunteers, maybe your new faces that are wanting to be more involved with arts in Fort Worth. Because Arts Fort Worth truly is a vital part of our city and our local community. They do ensure the preservation of arts and history in our community, and many people don't realize this, that for the city of Fort Worth, they are our arts arm. We rely on the expertise of our community artists and Wesley's team to ensure that we're distributing the funds that are available through grants in the city of Fort Worth in a thoughtful manner across all council districts in our city. And importantly, just last year, $1.4 million given to 43 arts nonprofits here in the city of Fort Worth. And while I know it can always be more, it is important to point out that we're also investing in large transformational projects, like the $15 million dedicated to the National Juneteenth Museum here in Fort Worth. Because importantly, we understand in our city that many people know us as a city of cowboys and culture. Our culture component is significant. We have world-class museums in the city of Fort Worth, between the Kimball and the Modern and the Amon Carter and the National Cowgirl. All are very significant places in our city. But they wouldn't be as special and significant if we didn't have the grassroots art that's all across the community. And really, I see so many artists here in the audience today. It might be worth mentioning that I was raised by an artist. My mom is very much a hippie at 75 today, but she owned a ballet studio in my small town I grew up in Hico. She was a professional ballerina before she retired to have her children, and still dances today with Texas Ballet Theater, which is quite amazing. She has much more energy than me. It's hard to believe. I mention that because a sense of art and creativity was instilled in me in a very young age. I was oftentimes pulled out of school, true story, to travel with my uncle's band, who was a professional drummer his entire life, playing with people like Rodney Crowell and Jerry Jeff Walker all across Texas. And so this was also a part of my existence. These are really important, inspirational opportunities I had as a child that I hope do inform me as a policymaker today. Investing in the arts truly does enhance Fort Worth's prosperity, and there are real dollars to that. Wesley, look, I'm looking at the numbers that you gave me. Aren't you proud of me? Importantly, we know that arts across the city of Fort Worth, really all in, is billions of dollars of economic impact across our community. And we understand the storytelling that needs to happen to make sure we connect the dots and really demonstrate the return on investment for potentially using tax dollars into the community arts, whether it's the Community Arts Center that we're still working through possible solutions, but also making sure that we convert and really invest in what community arts looks like across the entire city of Fort Worth. These will be important conversations we have as a city over the next several years. You know, long-term, aspirationally, think about what it would look like to have converted schools into community centers, having integrated artists into all of our libraries, Midori, into our community centers. I think if we're thoughtful enough, and I heard the word collaboration earlier, I think that's the most important part. I know sometimes at city council, it can feel Maybe for those that have never advocated before, intimidating, please don't be intimidated. Our doors are open. We want to hear your ideas, but it's especially difficult sometimes to do that in a public hearing because it doesn't feel like there's much dialogue back and forth. It feels like someone talks, the next person talks for 3 minutes. There are other ways to do that, and the best way to do it is to work with Wesley and Arts Fort Worth. Allow this organization to be your eyes and ears and your spokespersons on behalf of what you want as an artist community. Importantly, because they understand what it looks like to navigate and also work within the bounds that we have at City Hall for a limited budget year over year, making sure we dedicate the money that we can to arts in Fort Worth. I know last night you had the Heart of Gold dinner. I'm so sorry I missed that. It's always one of my favorite luncheons to attend. Is this the first year y'all did a dinner instead? How'd it go? Pretty well done? Awesome. And thank you to Texas Wesleyan for hosting. This is one of my favorite places. And also, a few things I want to point out that I think are important, especially I see our library director here, but Midori would tell you, most people don't realize this. There are over 400 cultural programs that take place in our libraries across the city of Fort Worth. And fun fact, did you know that you can check out musical instruments, including things like a ukulele, if you want to learn to play the ukulele? Right now, my son is learning to play the drums. I really wish he tried the ukulele first. My husband's a drummer also, so I have 2 drum sets on my second story, and it is very, very loud at all moments. We also have had really important partnerships within the city of Fort Worth between our graffiti abatement program, creating the palette program, all because of Arts Fort Worth, so thank you to the entire team for making that possible. Also, part of the library, Amplify 817, we paid over 100 artists, 118 musicians to be a part of Amplify 817 because we also want to lean in and support our music community in the city of Fort Worth. That would not have been possible without the partnership from Visit Fort Worth and Here Fort Worth and Tom Martin. So thank you very much, Bob, for that partnership as well. Over 7,000 jobs, $500 million in economic development. Truly, arts in Fort Worth is thriving, and we all need to continue to make it better and better. How can you be a part of that? We also know the 2026 bond election will happen here in the city of Fort Worth. We're just getting started. Don't panic if you've seen presentations. They have a framework for what it looks like to spend tax dollars prudently in this upcoming bond election. There will be plenty of ways to make sure that you're engaged. And again, our office, and I see Michael Crane in the back too, will work with Wesley Gentle to make sure the arts community feels like they have a voice in those things. In closing, allow me to talk about Bob Jamison for a minute. Bob's going to come up and speak and introduce our next speaker, which is really exciting. To know Bob is to love Bob. He is truly an advocate across the city of Fort Worth in so many different ways, but importantly, he has a heart for arts, Fort Worth specifically, of course, serving on the board and understanding the importance between how to govern well, but also advocate well and create better solutions for the city of Fort Worth. Visit Fort Worth. We would not be where we are today without this amazing organization. I often tell people that when, really over 10 years ago when I really started working, at the time I was chief of staff for Mayor Price in the city council, and we were struggling as a city to really tell our story because most people across the city of Fort Worth, if you polled them, they thought the city of Fort Worth was 45th in size across the country. And before we had economic development, we had tourism and hospitality, and it was in large part because of the work of Visit Fort Worth. Today, as an example, the Fort Worth Stockyards has over 11 million visitors a year. And as the folks with Majestic would tell you, that's more than the Eiffel Tower on any given annual basis. That's happening here in the city of Fort Worth. But Visit has been very intentional about making sure they connect the dots about every single part of our city. So if you get on their website or you're a tourism group that's coming to Fort Worth, you'll have an opportunity to visit and see all different flavors of our city, which is incredibly important for our vitality. The city of Fort Worth is now the 11th largest city in the country. We just passed the city of Austin in population. I talk about this a lot. We are also a part, of course, the success of North Texas, which unlike a lot of people in Fort Worth, I actually think our dedication to North Texas is incredibly important. Regionalism is a good thing for all of us across DFW. And because of that, all this growth and prosperity, we're soon to pass Chicago metro region as the 3rd largest metro region in the country. With that does come a lot of concern